Diesel because I've been teasing, throwing little jabs here and there before we got to the topic. Let's get to the topic. So while we were just talking about Michael Jackson and the ballooning budget and half a movie getting released, and it all depends if the movie does well. The one thing about Vin Diesel and these Fast and the Furious movies since Fast 9, they've been bleeding money, and the returning results on the box office, while the budget has gotten out of control, has been diminishing to the point where it's like they're looking at it as like this next movie. Because remember, the Fast 10, if you've seen it, which I'm sorry, I only saw that movie once. It was so bad. That one and Fast 9, the one where they were driving through the I don't know what the hell it was called. What was it? They were driving through something. They were trying to dodge mines, and then they hooked the car on this thing and they swung. I'm like, what what the fuck am I watching? That whole thing was just ridiculous. But anyway, so Vin Diesel, you know, the movie has made little progress, I should say. The last movie came out, F Fast X, came out in 2023. I can't even admit, I'll just admit it. I actually went to the movies. I did go to the movies to see it, even though I was just like, this movie is just 2+ hour, bunch of explosions. It was one big turd of a film. And remember that when the Fast and the Furious movies came out, the first one was a Point Break ripoff. It literally was. It was literally Point Break with cars instead of surfboards. Then, don't even start with me with Too Fast, Too Furious. That movie was terrible with John Singleton. May he rest in peace. He directed it. We had Stephen Aoki's sister, Devin, up in it. Then we had Reese was in that movie. Ludacris was in it. Then we had Tokyo Drift, where Han supposedly died. Then we had part four where it was kind of like it went in reverse and was like prequels up to that point before. So that's how they was able to bring Han back. They killed off Michelle Rodriguez. She didn't show up into the post-credit scene. Her picture did. In part five, that's when we got Dwayne Johnson. And then that's when the franchise started to pick up. Fast Five. And that's when, like I said before, when I was talking about Dwayne Johnson earlier, Dwayne Johnson became a part of it. That's when the franchise became successful, and they kept going up. Fast Five was dope. Fast Six was a good one. Then we have Fast Seven, which is where I believe we lost Paul Walker because he died in a car crash. How fitting, because literally what those movies was about, like he died in real life in a damn race car situation. Then we ended up getting, and then that's when it should have just ended, because it was great the way that they wrapped that movie up. And I think that was the first film to gross $1 billion. And I always said I think it was because a lot of people who were fans of the film went to go see it, and they liked the previous ones. On top of people were curious to see how they was going to wrap up his death or wrap up his story, because he had died in real life. So I do think that it was a lot of people who really weren't Fast and Furious fans that came out of curiosity to see how they were going to wrap up his story. Then we got the eighth one, Fate of the Furious. I forget the director's name. The one that directed Set It Off. F. Gary Gray, I believe, directed that one. That was all right. Don't even get me started on Fast 9. That was trash. And then we got Fast 10, which was even worse. So, um, Vin Diesel has been bragging and saying a bunch of things. Well, he likes to gaslight in order to get what he wants. But it seemed like Universal's not budging. So he had bragged that Universal has begged him to deliver the next Fast and the Furious by April 2027. I don't think Universal was begging, but they let Vin Diesel just talk out of talk out of his ass. He said, "I said under three conditions," and then he said he wanted to bring the series back to Los Angeles, rediscover the street racing culture that birthed it, and most brazenly, reunite Dom Toretto with Paul Walker's character. He said that's what you're going to get, which I don't agree with that. I think if Paul Walker y'all found a way to slither him out of this franchise and pay homage, whatever the case is, leave him gone. If you want to bring Mia back and all that other stuff, you could do that. Leave Paul Walker dead. The man is dead. I don't like you doing the whole AI thing with the face and the digital stuff and bringing his brothers in to be stand-ins. Y'all was able to make that work with the last Fast and the Furious that Paul Walker did. Leave him alone. Don't bring him back. Then you talking about bringing it back to the street racing. I think it's because y'all got so out of control, especially that last one. You had them off on different missions around the world, like this is freaking Mission Impossible. Y'all are not spies. And I always said that the thing that to me that would have made Fast and the Furious work was the time when what's his name came in when they went and they robbed the things in Brazil, whatever the case is. When they brought when Dwayne Johnson came back and was like, well, Luke Hobbs, when he came back and said, Letty's alive, blah, 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 I really feel like they should have just started that as in order to work off y'all prison, instead of going to prison, y'all need to try to use them to bring down other criminals or whatever the case is. That's how you work off your situation. Then you get the fact you get to use the cars, you get to use all that other stuff, and you can incorporate the street racing and stuff within that. But you were under the government, a secret elite government situation, and had them using all of these cars and things at their disposal because y'all are able to evade the people. You can bring all these other criminals down. So, and that's the way y'all work off y'all prison sentence because you sitting in prison is not it's just a waste. So y'all get to work off your little situation. Now, people die along the way, that could happen. Why do I got to come up with the fucking ideas for a movie that just been in limbo creatively? So they could have did that, but they didn't go there. They decided to come up with all this other cockamamie crap that defies all kinds of logic. And that's why people kind of side on this franchise, like, okay, y'all a little long in the tooth. And no shade, but you know what? Kudos to this franchise. No other franchise has been able to just make it to 11. Look at Mission Impossible. They haven't even made it that far up the food chain. And they started burning money too. So I think at this point, they ready to reboot that franchise, which I think they should. They need to go TV route, do a series, make it a smaller budgeted, grounded series, and then come back to that. But I think at this point, they could also spin off the Fast and the Furious with other people and a tinier budget. But yeah, so him saying all of that, and then somebody bringing the series back to LA, I think they want to ground it is because that budget ballooned is too much. It was like it was the budget with the marketing, everything over $400 million. It didn't even make their money back. It grossed under $800 million at the box office, and if your budget is at 400 some odd million, you have to at least hit the $1 billion mark, and it hasn't done that since uh the Fast and the Furious where Paul Walker passed. That was what, Fast 7 and Fast 8. I think those are the only two that did a billion. The rest after that, it was okay. This franchise is getting stupid. So they said that yeah, all that stuff Vin Diesel was saying was a lie. A Wall Street Journal bombshell has now dismantled Diesel's story. According to insiders, the next sequel doesn't even have a completed script. No release date has been set. Most of the cast haven't even signed deals, and Universal isn't even certain it wants another one. At least not unless they can clash. They could slash about 140 million from the budget compared to Fast X. They said if you told me 10 years ago that $1 billion Fast and Furious machine needed to slash its budget this drastically, I'd have laughed. But here we are. 11 films, $7.3 billion in global grosses, and suddenly the brain is on life support. In 2025, mega franchises are falling like dominoes. And that's a fact. It's like even Marvel. When you look at Marvel, Marvel's not even recouping a lot of the money that they once did. Thunderbolts didn't do that well at the box office. Fantastic Four didn't even hit a billion. Um, what is the other one? The Captain America with Anthony Mackie. That didn't really do as well as they had hoped. So it was like, yeah, they're really betting on Spider-Man and they're betting on Avengers Doomsday, which rumor is they're going to split that into two movies. So Um, yeah, big these a lot of these franchises are not doing as well as they once hoped. So if Vin Diesel in his mind thinks that, yeah, y'all gross $7.3 billion, the franchise total, um, if you're thinking I'm gonna just give you a budget well past $300 million, which I told you the last movie, the budget was ballooning past 300 million, and it's not only because of the shooting worldwide, but you also have to think about how much money the actors, whenever they sign on for each movie, how much you're paying them. That probably is why every time you see Michelle Rodriguez, the only time she pop up is in a Fast and the Furious movie. Although she was good in the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which I wish a lot more people would have saw that. That was a really good one. But when yeah, but when it comes down to, you don't really see her in anything except the fast Tyrese too. But Tyrese out here complaining he ain't got no damn money. Well, if you wasn't out here mauling people's animals with your fucked up ass dogs and paying your damn child support when you supposed to, you wouldn't be having financial struggles. But he's a mess any damn way. A lost cause. So yeah, they what else is, oh, then it said, oh, Fast X was the lowest grossing entry in over a decade. So yeah, the budget ballooned past 300, as I told y'all. The full box office was 705 million. So you already know, if the budget was almost 400 million dollars, you can also imagine how much they spent on the marketing. They had to spend at least 200 million. So if we're talking about the budget's almost at 400, plus you're spending 200 million on the marketing, that's 600 million dollars. 705 is what you came in at. You need to hit a billion in order to, recoup that, or to be considered a hit. So they said Universal wants the same spectacle, but with a tighter budget. According to the report, the last draft of the At Fast X Part 2 was too pricey and still needed about 50 million in cuts to even make that happen. Meanwhile, chill. Vin Diesel wants $25 million for each installment. They said the last production collapsed under his watch, as with longtime director Justin Lin. Oh, I remember that. Justin Lin only filmed about a week of the damn movie before he was like, okay, fuck this motherfucker, I'm out. He was done. Even to the point, remember when Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson was about to come to blows at one point. Because I realized is that Diesel is difficult to work with. So they had Louis Leterrier who stepped in, but Louis Leterrier, I do like a lot of his stuff. He's done like oh my god, what was the Transporter? I think he did a couple of those movies. But it said, and then they said that budget went spiraling out of control. The timeline is a mess. Diesel once swore the next chapter will hit in 2025. Then he said it was coming out in 2026. Then he said it was coming out in 2027. Now they saying there's not a completed script. They need to make cuts into the budget. And what it is, you know what? You can keep it simple. You could bring it back to the street race and roots, but it needs to be interesting as to what, when you bring these characters in, why we should care about them. Also, y'all need to leave Gal Gadot to stay dead. Why is this bitch back? She died at the end of, which was the one that she died in? It was, I think it was Fast Five, Fast Six, one of them. I think it might have been. No, shit, I can't even remember which one. When they had the longest, airplane situation. When it was on that little, when they were driving that plane was like going for like an hour, and that was the one that what's her name? Gina Carano, the one that just got canceled, but she got her little money from Disney when she was in that movie. And then Michelle Rodriguez was like, "Wrong team, bitch." That was a funny line though before she killed her. But Gal Gadot died. Then they brought her back on a submarine at the last one and didn't even explain how the hell she's alive. Like, y'all need to leave some of these characters dead. Stop bringing people back from the dead. Stop with the plot armor. You kill people off, then you bring them back. It's annoying. You have way too many characters in it. It's like you had Jason Statham. It's like they were trying to do their own version of Expendables. I love Charlize Theron. Cut her because that's going to be extra money added to the gumbo. Jason Statham, love him. Cut him. Um, there's been so many people. Even I know at one point y'all did tease Hobbs at the end of the last movie. Love Dwayne Johnson. He comes expensive too. Cut him. Y'all need to just keep it simple. Keep it within the family. Have them do one last situation. Close it up. Wrap it up. Move it on, and then pass the torch. I even think y'all could pull a Scream 7 and age Dom Toretto's son. Make him be the new guy that takes it over. Make him a teenager or whatever the case is. Or like, he's like 17, 18 years old and he kind of takes over the family situation or whatever. And do that. That's what y'all need to do. Because at this point, y'all doing too much. And if you want this movie made, you're going to have to come with some compromises because then, sorry, you don't have the same connection, cachet, whatever. It's the same thing with Dwayne Johnson. I don't feel like y'all have as much of that power as y'all think y'all do. in the industry. And with Vin Diesel, he's burned child, he burned too many damn bridges. Remember at one point he even abandoned the Fast and the Furious series because he thought he was too damn good for it and then started going over doing these other movies. The Last Witch Hunter was trash. Now they making a sequel to it because it's doing well on Netflix. And nobody asked for that. We still waiting to see what's going on with the Riddick sequel that you was talking about you was doing. What's going on with that? Then you over here teasing that you did something within the Fast and the Furious universe with Michelle Rodriguez. You posted that on Instagram. We ain't seen none of heard none about that except for what you posted. So Vinny be talking out of all sides of his mouth, and the industry be like, what is he talking about? Is he having like a Donald Trump moment? Like you just be making shit up, pulling things out your ass, and then we got to sit up here and say, okay, this man out here saying a bunch of crap that ain't true. So I say all this to say, I will be seeing the movie when it comes when it comes out, only because I need to know how this whole situation rides up. If I've been as invested in this Fast and the Furious franchise as long as I've been invested in it, I got to see how it ends. But y'all got to come up with a good story, a good budget, come up with some really cool, realistic, leaning action sequences, and don't be trying to because it's like, yeah, you asked for $25 million a movie. And then how much you trying to pay all these other people that's coming up in here? If you're gonna bring Ludacris back, if you're gonna bring back Michelle Rodriguez, if you're gonna bring back Tyrese, if you're gonna bring back all these other people that you bring, if you're gonna bring back Sun Kang, if you're gonna bring back all these different characters in these movies, how much you trying to pay them? Because that's expensive. And if the movie is not given, if I'm not recouping the money that I'm putting in and investing in this franchise, somebody got to give. And if you're not willing to compromise, then this movie not gonna get made. And people, we just gonna have to be left on a cliffhanger, like allegedly that Michael Jackson movie is about to be left on if y'all don't go see that when it come out. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what you think about this messy story in the comments down below.